Now most people pay lip service. Like middle class Indians, you ask them, what do you think of yourself? What are some adjectives that you apply to yourself? I'm honest, I'm conscientious, I'm loyal to my friends, and they will rattle up all kinds of things like that. When they say they're honest, then you ask me, have you ever submitted a voucher to the company when you took a cab instead, you took a bus instead and you collected taxi money from the company? Well, everybody does it. That is his response. So he doesn't consider that a dishonest act. So we have not examined our life. We just say lip service to a whole lot of values that we think we subscribe to. So the first and foremost thing that you examine your life and check out what constitutes your self-esteem and what value system you believe in and you're willing to pay price for it. So that's the first requirement. So assertiveness is your ability to act. 2, in harmony with your self-esteem. 3, without hurting others. In the process, you don't want to hurt. It's not a power tool. It's one more option of behavior that I share with you. Which means that if there are 3 major types of behavior. One is non-assertive or passive. Other extreme is aggressive. Both these emotions, both these behaviors are based on emotions. Non-assertive is an emotional reaction. Aggressiveness is also an emotional reaction. And they originate from the lower part of your brain. It's also known as flight or fight instinct in medicine. They come from the hypothalamic region. That's the lower part of this part of the brain. Now we have this cerebrum, which is very well developed. And this is the part of us which is CPU, data processing, central processing unit, which gives us rational problem solving ability. So a assertive person uses this part of the brain. He rationally looks at the problem objectively and works with it instead of coming with an emotional reaction. So the first question you got to ask yourself, are you assertive or are you not, is are you emotional or are you rational? That will distinguish the two. So at the other one extreme you have non-assertiveness. That's a passive behavior. Feeling associated with that is withdrawal, self-pity, feeling sorry for yourself, depression. These are the feelings associated with non-assertive behavior. At other extreme, like when Arjuna in the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Siddhanti mama gatrani romaharshascha jayate. My body is shaking, my hair is standing on his hand, I'm perspiring, Ganesh is slipping out of my hand. This, he has all practical purposes, a nervous breakdown. Non-assertive, he couldn't handle this tension. So he wants to withdraw, he wants to escape from this. Krishna's job is to make him look at it rationally and teach him so he can act. So the whole process of 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is Krishna's discourse to him as to why he should act, because that, and in different ways he tells him why he should act. So the idea is he wants him to act, not become like this. So other extreme is anger. And the emotion is violence. You act anger, this emotion, and you act violently in the extreme form, which is also the lower part. Animals, they either fight or they fly away. They go away, fight or flight. Human beings also do this. Now one more thing. Flight and flight response, medically speaking, one of the major causes of cardiovascular disease. So if you behave assertively, not only is good for your relationship, it's also good for your health. It's also good for your health. Why are we not assertive? Several reasons. Like as a country, if I have to define our country, we are basically non-assertive because we have been invaded by just about every race. And as a result, see the country that we are one of the few countries in the world who have been invaded by just about every race and have still survived. Not done badly either. The positive aspect of that, ladies and gentlemen, is we are highly resilient. Ability to bounce back is phenomenal. Not only that, we have become highly intuitive and highly creative in escaping or finding loopholes from anything. It's a survival kit. When you want to survive, you also have become paranoid. If somebody says, hello, how are you? You wonder first thing, why is he asking? We suspect people. We're always questioning people's motives. That is part of the thing, because when the culture over the centuries, our people have been maimed and murdered and our properties have been pirated and pilfered. This is what happens as a result in the historical process. Because we have survived, this is a part of the baggage. So there's a positive aspect to it and a negative aspect to it. And the negative aspect is we become non-assertive and we run away from things. So the point is, part of our conditioning is to comply. Part of our conditioning is not to be individualistic. See, Western world, the major difference in their individualistic culture, we are here joint family system. So even if you don't agree with your father or mother, you don't say anything. That is not to say that you have to say. The point is that you don't even recognize why this is. I'm giving you the insight in the cultural aspect of assertive behavior, non-assertive behavior. More on that in a little while. So this is what we have. So at one extreme is non-assertive, other extreme is aggressive. In the middle is assertive behavior, which is characterized by action. Respect for your rights as well as others' rights. Because ladies and gentlemen, if you look at it from psychology of power, whenever you are non-assertive, you are giving more power and more rights to the others than yourself. When you are aggressive, you are giving more rights and more power to yourself than to others. When Britishers were ruling over India, they were the aggressors and we were the non-assertive people. Gandhiji and his followers decided that this is not right. They wanted to set the balance right. Churchill said, what is that half-naked fakir, what is he going to do? That didn't bother Gandhiji. He didn't say, give me your tailor's address. No. It didn't bother him. But we are bothered. I remember I was in Heathrow Airport in London at one time. I'm sitting there during one of my trips. There's a guy, PhD from India, first time out of India. He's sitting next to me. He says, have you been here before? I say, yes. He says, I have a question. I say, yes. He says, I'm very hungry. I said, can I get you some food? I know where it is. He said, no, I got the food. I said, then what's the problem? He said, this white guy who's sweeping the floor, if I eat, would he be offended? His preoccupation is this. There is concern about this guy who's sweeping the floor, who never seen it in his entire life. Again, he is concerned because that guy, that mentality that has become that way. And that inhibits him from acting. So if this whole lot of baggage that we are carrying all the time, when there is no need for it, and we have no need for it now, we still carry it. There's a beautiful story about two Buddhist monks. They're walking down towards their ashram, and one lady who had trouble crossing the street. So one of the monks picked her up and took the lady across the street. He left her there and they kept on walking towards their ashram. So the other monk, he said, listen, we are Buddhist monks. So the guy said, yes. He said, we are not supposed to touch a woman. You carried her across the street. So the other monk says, listen, I only carried her across the street. You've been carrying her all the way to the ashram. And that's what we do. A lot of baggage that we can drop, we still keep on carrying it. It's a heavy burden. So part of this, you need to learn to drop this burden because it takes away and saps lots of your energy and keeps you from acting assertively. It's an energy drain on your system. And that is what causes problems, because when you are depressed, there are chances that you might get cancer. When you are aggressive, chances that you might get heart attacks. It's a behavioral thing. We have enough data to show you now, medically speaking. So the point is, drop all this baggage which is not required. Then you will have energy to do something you wish to do. So the assertiveness, when you learn about assertiveness, what does it do for you? It makes you deal with depression, anger, and other things rationally. It also gives you energy to proceed towards the goals that you set for yourself. It also improves your relationship. These are the positive results of behaving assertively. It also knows that people believe you when you say something, because they trust you, because they know there is integrity within yourself. And the best definition of integrity I can think of is that synergy between manasa, vacha and karmana. That between your thought, speech and action, there is an absolute harmony. That is the best definition of integrity I can give you. And that's what the best definition I give to all the management people. Manasa, vacha, karmana. I give you a very beautiful example of that. In the Mahabharata, it has been said that Yudhishthira, because he always spoke truth, his chariot was always flying about 6 inches above the ground. In the middle of the battlefield, when Krishna convinced him that he should say that Ashwasthama was killed, he spoke half-truth. When he was asked, he said, Ashwasthama died? He said, yes, he did. And then he said, Narova Kunjarova. I don't know whether it's a human beings or an elephant. And Krishna in his very methodical way blew the conch so nobody will hear that Kunjaro apart. But the moment he said that, his chariot touched the ground. He too, that integrity was gone for him also. Even when he went to heaven, he was the only one who could go Sadehe, means in his human body he could go there, but the last finger dropped off for that one lie or half lie. So the point is, integrity is this. And this is what you need to behave effectively in the community, in the country. If we learn a little bit of this, it doesn't have to be all the time. There's a beautiful introduction to Demian, a fantastic novel by Dr. Hermann Hesse, which he wrote after he went to psychoanalysis with Dr. Jung. And he says, we are all experiments on the part of nature. Some of us become frogs, some lizards, some half human, some half animals. And it's a process of evolution. That human form is that does not mean we are all that. There's something that needs to be done still from within. And that's an ongoing process. So learning to be assertive is an ongoing process. Nothing that you listen to the lecture, you did X, Y, Z, therefore you will become assertive. It's a philosophy of life. It's a philosophy and behavioral thing. It's a behavior that you cultivate. That does not mean you will be assertive all the time. There are other times when you wouldn't want to be assertive, or you will assertively decide not to be assertive. Because the power issues involved, because the relationship, or because the hurt that is involved. Suppose my father tells me something that I know that is absolutely wrong. I know he's telling, but I would not confront him because he happens to be my father and the tradition demands I don't do it because he might find it disrespectful. So I abide by that, but I would not be emotionally upset in that case because I rationally chose not to confront my father. If it was not like that, I'll be emotionally all tangled up in knots. So that's the distinction. I assertively decided not to be assertive. You can also assertively decide to be aggressive. With some situation demands, you say, get out of here. You tell somebody and after he goes, how did I do? Because you are not rattled up, you just acted it out. You just acted it out, but your physiology is not affected, and therefore your health is not affected. See, when you are non-assertive or aggressive, your physiology is affected. And that is what causes the medical problems or health problems. So recognize this. Learn to be assertive little by little. Part of this is why we are not is because of our conditioning. I give you a very interesting example of what I mean by conditioning. Because first time I met Buraji Bhai Desai, I was introduced to him as a behavioral scientist. He said, Rooshikumar Bhai, what is behavioral science? I admired the man for that. Most people would have said, yeah, it's interesting. He did not know, and he had the courage to ask that at age 93. That I admired. So the point is, part of being assertive is also the ability to say, I don't know. In our culture, we generally don't say two sentences, I do not know and I do not understand. If you don't believe me, just complain to your friends and tell him you got a blood pressure or something, he will prescribe you a medicine. Everybody in India is a doctor. My brother used to take this, it's good for you. And they'll give you the name. It's good. Go to that homeopath or go to that guy, they tell you everything. We don't need qualification to give medical advice in our country. And we are afraid to say, I don't know or I don't understand. So learn to say this also, which is part of being assertive. Now part of this is a programming that goes on right from childhood. And I give an example of what I mean by programming or conditioning. My sister was a gynecologist, FRCOG London, as good as they come. As a result, most of our friends were also gynecologists. So one day I had a party and I had 27 gynecologists in my home. One of the couples brought two kids, 9-year-old boy and an 8-year-old girl. I was observing these two kids and the boy took a mother's purse and opened the zipper and is telling his sister, I am doing cesarean. The other kid puts his fingers inside, takes a 10-rupee note out and says, I am doing forceps. Age 8 and 9, ladies and gentlemen, they were already obstetricians and gynecologists. This is what I mean by conditioning. Let me give you another example. When I was teaching in North America, in one class, second year university, average age was